Today, we're joined by David Walsh, the CEO and founder of Limelight, who's revolutionizing how B2B brands and creators connect in the digital space. If you're ever wondering why B2B marketing often feels disconnected from where real conversations are happening, you're going to want to lean in close. With over 40 years of combined B2B SaaS experience, they built Limelight, the first true B2B creator partnership platform. With backing from $2 billion AUM venture funds and strategic angels who've seen it all in the tech world, David and his team are not just building a platform, they're creating a new category in B2B marketing. Please welcome David Walsh to the Go-to-Market Snacks, where we take small bites of insights to unlock your pipeline strategy. David, welcome to the show.
I have to say, what an entrance. I am excited about the conversation, and thanks for the energy. I think we've got a lot to chat about, and I'm really excited about
in a short period of time. This is just a snack. We want people to still be hungry at the end of this, but the goal is, when I was looking at what you're doing, it's incredibly impressive, and I'm really jealous of the fact that you were able to put this together, because it's clear, like, this is obviously a problem, and there's so many creators that have these audiences, and the traditional methods of generating pipeline don't work anymore. I was just talking to Mark Cosselglow about the great ignore and what Operator's doing, and that LinkedIn is the place that people can stand out and be able to capture the right attention. So tell me a little bit more about why you created this and how Limelight's able to unlock this pipeline that we all need.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I'll start with very high level how I think about the world and the future of marketing. And I really think that it's personality led, meaning brand marketing is more challenging than ever. And a company or an individual doesn't want to follow a brand. They want to follow a person. So personality led growth is the future. And I made this bet 12 months ago when I started posting content on LinkedIn. About 18 months ago, and seeing some traction, I just realized there was this massive market opportunity to help these individuals who have been building audiences and have a specific knowledge set around a niche and have authority within that space and have built this audience to help them monetize their audience through brand partnerships that are authentic. And so I think the future of marketing is personality led. I think now companies are starting to realize that. You'll see companies that are bigger companies delegate to one stakeholder and say, you're now the spokesperson, and the performance and reach of that individual skyrockets. So what we think is the future is that all companies will have a team of creators who create organic content consistently and drive awareness for the brand. So it's an exciting space to be in, relatively new. And we're learning as we go and building it, very, very quickly.
Interesting. So you're thinking, because one of the things that I'm working on is helping founders at early stage venture-backed companies figure out their founder brand. Like Dave Gearhart wrote the Founder Brand book. I go through the line of questioning that he has in there for people to figure out what's your voice, what's your story, what's unique, how do you actually stand out from the noise, and help them tell the story. But they're the founder, right? The company's their baby. Employees are uncles, cousins, maybe. They could just maybe leave the company and take it with them. So I wasn't planning on going down this rabbit hole with you, but how do you think about that? Because having teams of creators that are employees that could potentially take their audience somewhere else, like Kyle Coleman, right? With Andy Byron at Clary is now at Copy AI. And I was thinking the Andy-Kyle combo at Clary, but Kyle's the employee. He's now at Copy.
So
talk to me
it's
about
fascinating that you bring that up. My short answer is it would be the future looks like you cannot care about your employees growing their own audiences and be kind of, I suppose, conservative to that approach. It only benefits you. When you hire somebody or you work with an advisor, or you work with anyone at your company, you get their name, knowledge, and network, right? And so when they start to create an audience, that just amplifies that. So if you're starting to think, oh, I don't want my employees to create audiences or to be publishing content in case they leave, that's a very closed-minded, thought process. I've come up against it with other companies, and almost every single company now is just leaning in and saying, you know what, this is actually getting a lot of results. We understand organic reach and we want our employees to post content, even if there is a risk that they become more valuable to another company to acquire them. You just got to take that risk. And, I think it's still extremely powerful as a channel. And I think all companies should promote internal employees to post content online. And we're actually building a tool, which we'll talk about how to help people do that.
Okay, interesting. So what have you seen to be the most successful way for a brand to work with a creator. I believe Mark Costleglow is an advisor. I believe Devin Reed, correct me if I'm wrong, is helping, but I've seen a lot of partner posts recently, and then Jen Allen just did one. Help me with, what is the most successful way brands are working with them? People like that.
Well, Devin and Jen, I'd love to have advisors. They're not advisors. They have logged into the platform.
You guys
I've
here?
met them. I want them to be advisors. And I would love to have them on board. But yeah, I think the most successful, to answer your question very directly, it has to be authentic, number one, right? And that means that most often the creator has to actually use the product or be aware of the product or be able to solve a specific problem that is relevant to their niche, through and enabled by the product. So authenticity is number one. So critical. I then think for the brand, they should have consistency. A lot of companies come in and they say, hey, I want to try this. And they do one post with a creator, like, it didn't get the results we needed. Like, it's about consistent content and forming longer term partnerships. So those individuals that are creators can be essentially spokespeople for your brand. So that's kind of the two nuggets I'll just give you, like authenticity and consistency. There's probably a lot more I could share, but those are the two.
Okay. Then let's go down the path of this insights influential benchmark report that you put together. There's a lot of data in there. If you were going to give one nugget from it that a brand is looking for, thinking about doing this, because I've had a lot of conversations recently with marketing teams trying to understand what I'm doing, which is helping founders turn their brand on. It's a new marketing channel. It's very confusing. How do you tie it to pipeline and sales? And so the benchmark report is really interesting. And I'd love to just get a sense from you on how a brand should think about this to justify it internally, to be able to start doing this, because it is very new and different. And that's part of the fun, but also the challenge, right?
So this industry is so new, and what we're trying to accomplish is building an infrastructure product that can power it, starting with bringing more transparency to the space, more clarity, both for the brand and for the creator. So a lot of the times we get asked from creators, like, how much should I charge? They don't know. And then the brands are like, how much should I pay? Right. And they don't know, right? Because there has been no benchmark. It's just the wild, wild west, right? And so there's always an art and a science to this. So I want to be very clear. Like, our benchmark report is just for a guide and a guideline. The quality of the content is really what matters. Our goal is to basically say, hey, here's what we typically see in the market from analyzing thousands of proposals, hundreds of posts, and saying, typically, this is what we recommend to pay or to charge as a creator or as a brand. And it's never perfect. It's meant to be used as like a reference point. But it's been super exciting to see that uptick. I think we've now got like 500 people downloaded that report. It's crazy. And like on our website, we're getting a couple of people to download it every single day, because it's in demand. Because again, growth leaders, marketing leaders are thinking about this space. They're trying to understand it. They've never done it before. They've maybe done it once or twice. This report helps them understand how to do it, and then how much to pay and what to expect, and how to maximize results. So that's the ultimate goal of the report.
Okay. Understood. And as you were talking, a thought popped in my head, which is, I spent 2 years helping a creator. His name's Adam Enfroy, not a LinkedIn creator, but he's been on YouTube building a blog growth engine. And all he does is talk about blogging, because he had a lot of success there. And there's a community and a course. And I was helping him with partnerships and trying to manage what do partnerships look like. And it was everything from, we'll pay you X amount for an ad spot, to the most creative, which has been more of a partnership than anything, right? It's weaving things throughout everything the creator does. And I'm talking to a brand about sponsoring this podcast, the newsletter that I'm doing with the creator breakdowns, one post a month, and then I'm trying to think through as a creator. I don't have that large of an audience, but the audience I do have is valuable because it's founders that want to start their founder brand. And I'm struggling with, how do I package that? Is that 5,000 a month? Is it 10,000? Like, what is it, an annual thing? So I was just reading through the report, and it really helped me get a frame of reference, while also having this experience helping a larger creator figuring out how to do this with big brands like HubSpot. And so anyway, that's a huge problem space for creators, is my point.
And I will say, like, our report is very deliberately focused on LinkedIn to begin with, but actually our creator network have a lot of channels. They have newsletters, they have a podcast, they have a YouTube following, a Twitter following. So they are multi-channel. And we actually suggest and recommend that brands partner with creators and do multi-channel when it's available. Because I was actually speaking to Scott Tousley about this yesterday, who, if you don't know Scott, he's the head of content at Clay, an awesome guy. Obed and the team over there at Clay are just killing it on the creator side, and I get fortunate enough to get to work with them and help them build this creator program, which has been exciting. And Scott actually reminded me, we were talking about the strategy and the direction and what we're trying to build, and he reminded me, like, hey Dave, like, the future is just around acquiring the personality and the person and everything that comes with it. So their audience is not platform dependent. You're actually getting that person, that stakeholder, and allow them to create content wherever their channels are. And then you basically benefit from that content and can potentially repurpose some of that content into brand specific content or even ad channel content. So it's been really exciting. And, I think multi-channel partnerships are great. We typically focus on LinkedIn, and that report is very LinkedIn friendly and focused because nobody's done it before. It's brand new.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And I was just thinking about the Devin Reed put of his latest newsletter about the Notion takeover of everybody with the faces that rolls for however long. And so just getting creative with that. I'm going to pause for a second just to time out of the podcast. I know we've got 2 minutes. Is there anything else that you want to roll through before I move into the closing piece?
Let me think. We went through how to do partnerships. We went through the pricing benchmark report, future of marketing.
Just the unlocking pipeline. Where I was going to go is number one way B2B creators.
Yeah. I can go on that. I think that's our ultimate goal is essentially to connect content to revenue. So I could do a nice spin on that.
Okay. Well, let's finish off on that then. So I ask every guest this: what's the number one belief about pipeline generation in 2025 the market has completely wrong? And how should brands be thinking about doing it differently to unlock this next big opportunity? And I think we've been talking about what that thing is, but if we could be a little bit more specific, like established brands, their belief, what is it that they should be doing to think differently about pipe gen this year?
Well, I can tell you from my own personal experience, and I'm working with ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, Bill.com, Alibaba, some major national companies, even publicly traded companies. And I'm typically working with their head of marketing or head of growth marketing or head of growth. And all of them are thinking about how do we get better return on investment from our ad spend? Right now, the channels are becoming more saturated. It's more difficult to compete. You have to compete on keywords. So they're always looking like, how do I reduce our customer acquisition costs and get better return on investment? So ultimately, obviously, my biased opinion is like focus on creators, right? Like creators can be a huge channel for growth, especially if you do it the right way. And I will say, like, influencer marketing as it exists today is very much about brand awareness, like being top of mind, consistently being on the news feed and being in people's kind of ecosystem for when they do decide that they need a product to then think about your brand. Where we want to go with this though, Andrew, is we want content to be very directly tied to revenue. And I think that is the ultimate goal. Okay. And we're accomplishing that in a couple of ways today. But revenue attribution is super complicated. There's lots of different touch points, especially for sales cycles that are a bit longer. For product-led growth cycles, it's a bit easier. Not everyone clicks on the link. Not everyone, follows the exact track to convert. But we are getting a much better sense of how creators can influence pipeline. And we're building technology around that, because I think the last thing I would say is the goal is not to just have a company work with us, spend a couple of tens of thousands of dollars and not get measurable results. We are very clear on here's what we expect to happen. Let's set some clear measurable goals and let's show you the value and hopefully the pipeline that's generated from these content partnerships. And that's very exciting to do, because once we crack that, companies will just double, triple and quadruple their ad spend, which benefits creators, which is ultimately our mission. We want to get creators paid.
And I will leave you with this, which is you triggered a thought for a product or future feature, but I'm helping founders with their founder brands. And one of the most challenging things for me is how do I tie this piece of content to pipeline? And if there's a way to not only do that with creators you're partnering with, but if you loaded in the founder of that brand as the creator to be able to tie what they're doing and all the engagement data that I'm dropping into a Clay table to then figure out how to do attribution and all this crazy system, like that is a complete mess. And yes, Clay is awesome. And please help. So with that, Thank you, Dave, for joining us on the GTM Snacks podcast, where we take small bites of insight to unlock your pipeline strategy. And today we've been talking about creators and how to unlock creator brands to help you generate pipeline. Thank you, Dave, and we'll see you on the next one.